What are the messages that we need to tell ourselves? What are the strategies that we need to employ in order to do this? Politically, in our workplaces, in our families. So these are the essential things that I think we need to learn and practice in order for us to become Annie Oakley. We have to learn to promote ourselves. We have to toot our own horn. Because Mark Twain said, if you don't toot your own horn, someone will use it as a spittoon. And you notice tonight, I tooted. My horn, that is. Okay, so I say take a lesson from the boys. Men campaign for themselves all the time. All the time. I hear it in my office. Some guy comes back from winning a case. He's up and down the hall bragging about his accomplishments, telling everybody what a wonderful cross-examination he did. Boy, he just butchered that expert from the other side. That's the reason they get promoted and etc. You know, when you ask a man, why should I hire you over any other applicant? I actually had one say, because I'm awesome. Okay, so you're also arrogant, self-absorbed, and a shameless promoter, right? So it's not about, I disagree, it's not about being more like a man. It's about being, and I'm going to use this term because Lisa taught it to me, it's about being authentic. Learning to employ some of the same strategies men use, but being yourself. You always have to be an authentic person. So, the art of bragging with style and grace. It's important that we learn how to put our best foot forward and not put it in our mouth. We have to learn to self-promote and not self-deprecate. I want to read to you just two sentences from this woman's article that I found on Huffington Post. She wrote the article and entitled it, "Why is it so hard for working women to get ahead?" And here's what she said. The idea of selling myself to my boss, a potential employer, or even just another human socially makes me queasy. Even composing a congratulatory tweet is agonizing. It usually takes me several drafts to come up with a sentence fragment that conveys that I did something worthwhile with just the right subtlety. For example, hey, this is something I did at work this week. You might find it interesting. So there's a study that came out of a Montana university that says that resistance to self-promotion can be traced back to the way we've been socialized. Duh, I think we could all have told you that. So I found this interesting too. So the coach for the U.S. Women's World Soccer Cup champion was asked how coaching men and women is different. And he said, men can totally blow it on the field, have the worst game, and they come off bragging about their accomplishments. Women, on the other hand, and he coached the Women's World Soccer Cup championship, can have the best game of their life and they beat themselves up over a bad move they made in the first quarter or a missed goal during the game. You know, for most people, I suspect that being a self-advocate is worse than having a root canal. But if you don't stick up for yourself, who will? So learn to act like a political candidate, put yourself out there, learn to make yourself known, highlight your talents. Our best asset is ourselves. When I first ran for office, I had to learn the art of tooting my own horn. I had to learn to put myself out there and talk about myself. I never had to do that before. It wasn't easy. I had to go up to complete strangers, as I did to some of you tonight, introduce myself, tell them who I was, what I was running for, why I was running, and ask them for their vote. Very important. But worse, I had to call up complete strangers and ask them for their money. For me, not for the Girl Scouts. Yeah? So don't believe the prevailing myth that you don't have to brag, that a good job speaks for itself. Working hard and producing results does not necessarily get you noticed. One of my high-ranking women in my office was recently asked to give a presentation to a group, and when asked what she should speak on, she was told, just tell us about yourself, tell us about your career. When I started talking to her later, she said, oh, That was too difficult for me, so I talked about you in the office. I'm like, really? So I took this strategy right from Sheryl Sandberg. Sit at the table. She talked about the importance of it in her book, Lean In, and at her TED Talk. It's unequivocally important to be treated. If you want to be treated just like a man, you absolutely must sit at the table. Do not sit at those chairs around the periphery, because what's the message that you give when you sit there? I'm not as important as the folks at the table. You really don't have to pay attention to what I say, because I'm back here. Okay, take the initiative. Just do it. Negotiate for yourself in the workplace. Almost 60% of the men entering the workforce negotiate their salary before they accept the job. Less than 7% of women do. Men attribute success to themselves. Women attribute it to external factors. This played out in my office recently at a supervisors meeting of all my trial attorneys, supervisors. I shared some really sincere comments that came to me from one of the Superior Court judges, from one of the women supervising attorneys. And I always like to share praise publicly. It's really important. And she then, as soon as I shared them, she diminished them by saying, oh, he only said that because I clerked for him. Okay, believe in yourself, be confident. Oh, man, this guy, he got it all wrong. He was the Microsoft CEO in Phoenix just a couple weeks ago. He said women don't need to ask for a raise. They should put their trust in the system. Well, his system, the technology world, is overwhelmingly male. If the women don't ask for a raise, do you think they're going to get it? He had to backtrack and apologize profusely. Raise your hand, keep it raised. You know, I learned early on as a teacher that boys raise their hand, girls would have to be called on. Don't do that. Get and receive coaching on a regular basis. It's so critical to have a mentor, and I like to think about mentors. Top athletes have coaches. They never stop being coached. Top performers have coaches. I loved reading the fact that Meryl Streep has acting coaches. Why? Because these folks are always trying to get better. And don't take coaching personally. You need honest feedback. You've got to get it from someone you respect and trust. But please don't take it personally, because if you do, you're never going to make it, because women athletes have to get used to this. Men have to get used to this. This is coaching at its finest. Take risks. I like people who take risks. I like people who aren't afraid to fail. Great leaders aren't afraid to fail, and they don't ever give up. If at first you don't succeed, don't give up. I want to tell you, Abraham Lincoln, I think he went through 11 elections of various sorts before he was elected 16th President of the United States. He lost every one of the previous ones. He never stopped trying. This is election eve. We have several candidates who are vying for office tonight who did not give up after failure. Martha McSally lost her initial bid for Congress in 2012. She's running again. Ann Kirkpatrick first won her seat in 2008. She lost it in 2010. She ran again in 2012. She won, and she's running again. Felicia Rodolini ran for Arizona Attorney General in 2010. She lost. She's running again. They aren't giving up. You have to admire their persistence, their determination. I love this quote by Michael Jordan. You know, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career, lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You will fail. Failure, unlike the Apollo movie, failure is an option, and it will happen to you. Aim at the high mark. That's how Annie Oakley became Annie Oakley. Aim at the high mark. You will hit it. Not the first time, not the second time, not the third or fourth time. Keep on aiming. Keep on shooting. Only practice makes you perfect. Finally, you'll hit the bullseye of success.